Hi, my name is Dan Paulson, and welcome to my channel, Just One Truth. I'm in a video series, and I'll post a link down below to where this starts to the introduction. I'm not going to start at the beginning, and my videos are not really standalone videos. They it's a big process. It's more like an ongoing conversation with myself. Anyway, there's a lot to this, so I need to jump into it, but I'm going to cover a little bit more ground before I get started into the interpretation of the verses from Jesus here, because I want to set it up a little bit again as we get into it. I have been making the comparisons between Buddha, Lao Tzu, and Jesus, and kind of just gradually working into that. There's a process to it, and what I want to say is that I realize that this is a very identifiable process. If you learn this, you can do it. Anybody can do this and come up with the same results. We would not have a world full of variation if everybody did this. We would not have thousands of different Christian denominations if everybody did this. There's something here that is different than Christianity. So I am going to cover the teachings of Jesus, and I am not a Christian. You won't hear anything here that sounds like it comes from Sunday school, and you won't hear anything that comes from atheist channels either. This is something different. Anyway, I'm going to take you along on that ride then of going through these verses, and I'm just going to ask you to maintain an open mind and understand that I am not touching Christianity. If anybody has a belief there, by all means, go with your belief. I'm not interested in interfering with that. I'm showing something different. Okay, I'm going to pop up a verse here that I made. It doesn't have any baggage to it. This is just to show how it functions, how it works. This is to show the parts, to show the mechanics of opening it, how the box unlocks. An anchored ship cannot sail. In a verse like that, if you were taking that out of a religion, let's just grab Christianity and say, here's a biblical literalist that reads that. And if they're a solid biblical literalist that say you don't read into it, you take it at face value, they'll never know what the master nested in there. You know, what should be evident right up front? Jesus, spoke in parables. There are, if fable is like a parable, except that it uses animals. Reading the Bible literally would be akin to spending one's life saying, look, the tortoise won because he kept his eyes on God. He was a Christian. Yeah. The tortoise just won. They will never understand that this is a story that is carrying a lesson. You got to dig into it. Okay. We're not there. We're moving on. So what next? We go beyond literal. We let that go and we let our imaginations fly. We allow ourselves to grow and for things to become malleable in our thinking process. We start working on figuring this out. It's a metaphor. It's parable. It has to be interpreted. When layer 2 is interpreted, you're going to find out, though, that the results that the interpreter is looking for has to do with the physical world. It has to do with life conditions, physical life conditions. It might have to do with people out there and not the individual, or the person might say, oh, it's about me, but it's still about their physical life condition. Let me make up a couple of examples. An anchored ship cannot sail. A person might look at that and go, oh, okay, yeah, that's not about the ship and the anchor. That's about me. The ship is an analog for me. And the ocean, which is implied, is an analog for life. Sailing is moving freely. If I'm anchored, I can't move freely. A person could look at that and say, okay, yeah, that means I need to further my education. I got to get a better job. I got to dump this person I'm in a relationship with. It's whatever. There's something somehow that you got to let go of to move on. And this is teaching you that right there. That's layer 2. You see, it's about the physical world, the physical condition. And that's okay. It's a good layer. That's what's there. However, it's broke. This part is where it gets out of control. Because somebody else comes along and looks at that verse and says, wait a minute. I've been all over the place in my life. I just haven't, I've not been able to find comfort. And I finally got a relationship, found group, family. This is about me being able to hold myself someplace secure where I'm loved and where I care. An anchored ship cannot sail. Sailing means you're off floating around crazy. You're not in a port. You're not in a harbor. And the person gets all, excited about interpreting that verse. And they are opposite. One says sail free. The other one says, ooh, make sure to set anchor. We just found where the denominations come from, the variation. This is humans saying, I think I know what that means. And they make it about their life. And that's okay. But it's not what the master put in there. People are working at it. They're trying. They're trying to do things. How do we make this a religious verse? An anchored ship cannot sail, saith the Lord. There, now it fits in the Torah, the Bible, or the Quran. Okay. And I'll let you know I don't like to play at layer 2 anymore. As you're a kid, layer 1 is where you are. Then you graduate to layer 2. And at layer 2, you either exist there forever or bag it completely or, back and forth. Layer 2 is where theism and atheism reside. This is where those two clash and fight and argue and try to prove each other wrong. Nobody can demonstrate anything. So, yeah, you're going to get variation. So now let's introduce the rules. And I call them rules. I didn't make these rules up. I found these rules as I sought the answers to what is in these, all of these teachings far and wide. There was something that emerged. We all can spot patterns. We see a lot of things sometimes in religions. We go, are they copying from each other? There's some similarity there. And that got my attention. And I dug and dug and dug until I realized, you know what? The stuff you see that looks similar, those are just the ones that overlap easily. Everything is similar. They're just not all as easy to see. There's a process and a pattern that emerges that is consistent. And once you learn it, we'll all come up with the same answers doing this. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live in the world, you'll come up with the same answer. This is what is nested in here for the seeker. Okay, let's get down to the magical part, the nitty-gritty of it all. Layer 3. Layer 3 is metaphor and parable again. It requires interpretation with rules and is only ever about the self, and this is critical, the one's your soul or your psyche. And let me clarify those terms here very quickly. You have to put yourself in their position thousands of years ago. We know a lot of things today that we take for granted. When we think about what they're trying to do, we don't dismiss that stuff when we need to. We need to understand 2,000 years ago that we don't read, we don't write, there's no schools, there's really no education. You're telling stories. This is what you have to communicate with. There's no technology really. You can, maybe some steel, maybe some copper. That's your technology of the day. We don't know about the brain. We don't know about energy. We don't know about electrochemical systems. There's a lot that we don't know. We're living life going, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how stuff works. I think I experience life. I can laugh. Sometimes my body feels weird. I don't know what's going on. Something's broken, my heart, my soul, my something. Today, we know that mental conflict up here is going to create issues when those emerge, which cause release of chemicals from glands in our body that cause us to feel happy, sad, depressed, some sort of sensations. We feel those sensations. They did too. We know where they come from. They did not. They knew they had them and they're describing them and they knew how to heal them. They didn't know that it was the brain that was doing it. They're doing a longer process because they don't know that they've got a brain and electrochemical stored up here. Okay, that's where I'm going to when I say soul psyche. When they are talking about healing, they will use terms like soul, heart, spirit, things of that nature. How do you heal a heart? How do you heal a soul? You heal your thinking. That's the only thing we have. We got a conscious, we got a subconscious, and then we exist together in a unified field. Those are the three components that we know, that we have, that we work with. Beyond that, supernatural. Let's just stick with the three we know. Now, this verse comes alive when we grab the component parts and bring them to our psyche. We have to look inward with them, not outward. We have to look to the inner world, not to the outer world. So, yeah, I'm the ship and I can't sail. I get that. But what is it? I'm hanging on to something that I've got hidden away. So if we were to analyze this verse and use it in our psyche, first of all, we could say, saith the Lord. That is just someone told you to do this. So you can dismiss that. That's not part of the instruction. An anchored ship cannot sail. And that's not even an instruction. That's more of a, here's what happens. And in this case, You're the ship, you cannot sail. But what are you anchored to is something that is deeper. It is in your psyche. It is something that you harbor inside that you don't want to let out. It's pain, it's shame, it's hurt, it's judgment. It is maybe just thoughts of being worthless and stupid, ugly. The things that we go through that we tear ourselves up in our own minds, running through things with conviction in a physical world as if that's real. We hang on to things. And when we hang on to something that we can't let go of, we don't leave it behind. This verse comes alive when you make it about your inner self, your soul, your psyche. They're teaching you that if you want your heart to feel better, you got to forgive that person that molested you, raped you, whatever. It's very difficult. This layer number 3, it's not for the masses. It's hard. But it's straight up. And what it does is it addresses the thinking of the individual and lets them know that the emotional state that you put something away with has to change. It doesn't get into all of that here, but this is the structure of the verses. This is how they work. And they're all going to be very similar. But what we're going to see variations in is the changing of the analogs. You could say an anchored ship cannot sail. You could say you cycle around that which you cling to. You could say the dog tied in the yard can never, it just runs around the tree. I'll stray for a second, but it's pertinent. You could also, in the hero's journey, you've got Prometheus tied up against the cliff, getting his liver eaten out by an eagle representing Zeus. Every day it grows back, eats it out, grows back. Daily this is happening. And the Greeks thought that the liver was the seat of emotions. The Greek punishment of Sisyphus, more hero's journey stories. That's where these really reside, the hero's stories ones. Pushing the boulder up the hill, it rolls back down. Push it up. Before it gets to the top, it rolls back down. But his punishment is to get this boulder up on top of the hill. In Lao Tzu's teaching, we see that the wheel comes around and around and around, and how that wheel comes around is based on what is in the hub. We'll see the same thing from Buddha. What we begin to look at that's emerging from these, you have to step back from them. You can't be so close to them that you're like, no, that wheel is not the same as the liver. That is not the same as they're not. Or the plant that's growing back and getting cut down and growing back and getting cut down. Step back. They're cycles. There's something that is happening repetitively over and over again. And those are all different analogs used to carry the same teaching. So that's what we're going to be looking at as we go through here. That is where we're going to find our variation. The process is going to be simple, but it is, I always say it's easy, it's hard, it's easy. There's parts of it that are easy. There's parts that are hard. And maybe I just am not completely on board with it yet. Yeah, there's layers I can see layers ahead of me that I don't understand. Of course, the stories are big carrying vehicles. So they also, as the stories get bigger and bigger to contain these lessons, begin containing incredibly rich and fun, superfluous details. They're the carrier. They help it go. So you have to weed that out. Okay, I'll reserve all of that for later videos. Right now we're sticking with very short. I'm going to go with just some very compact Jesus verses where we're going to look at the analogs, play with bringing them inside like we did with the example of my ship one. Now we're going to actually grab Jesus verses himself and give them the exact same process. And we'll just go right to layer 3. I don't care about layer 1 and layer number 2. We'll just go right to layer 3 on these. I will be using the NRSV version of the Bible, and I'm going to bounce around a little bit. I'm not trying to do any sort of teaching here that is, just go for the ride. Matthew 5:3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Luke 6:20, blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Okay, these become difficult because people pay attention to the words too much, or they treat it as if it is the physical world. It's not. It's the spiritual world. It always is. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the poor, that mass of Stuff in your mind that you accumulate in life. When you were a little kid, you didn't have it. You started getting it as you were growing up and going through experiences and putting those experiences away, who had more experiences. This is not a poor spirit. Poor means devoid of. Blessed are those with an uncluttered subconscious, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Take that how you want to. Good life. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Lao Tzu tells us to unname things, or that naming is the origin of things, that when we decide in our minds that this is good or this is bad, and we start accumulating that stuff, that we become divided. And that is what causes our flow in life, and that in order to enhance or improve the quality of our flow in life, we clear out that stuff. What do we have here? Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Kingdom of heaven, call it what you want. I call it an analog. If I was to modernize this today, I would say something like, blessed are those devoid of their convictions and their hurt and their shame and pain, for theirs is a peaceful life. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. This is where we have to pay attention to a couple of things. They're always spiritual verses. All of these are. People might ask, oh, am I supposed to be poor? No, it's a spiritual verse. It's not a physical verse. It has a physical direction that it looks, but it's inward. It always is. For you Gnostics out there that say that the Romans left out the instructions that you're supposed to turn this inward, but you don't need those instructions. You turn it all inward. All of it is inward. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. We got the same thing. Everything from Jesus is going to be up here. It's not plain language. It is not plain language. Unless it is something that supports that inner teaching. We'll see that. Okay, let me start bouncing around here a little bit more. Back to Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. So this one is not very deep. This is a very shallow teaching. Mourn here is, I guess that would be the analog, if there is one. This one, when you turn it in, though, and use it on yourself, it's exactly very simple. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. What do you need to mourn? What do you hold inside that hurts? And mourning is not simply like, something that made you sad. It might be, mourning is healing. Mourning is what happened to you. Rape, molestation, abuse, years of being told what a worthless piece of crap you were. All of those things that we experience growing up in life, and you hold those inside and they tear you up unless you mourn them. It's a forgiveness. This is a healing step. This is Jesus telling you, you need to, first of all, blessed are the poor in spirit. Here's how you get there. Mourn what hurts you, and you will find comfort. Deal with that stuff. Do we find it in Luke? Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Do you see the same thing? It's inside. You're weeping now, you will laugh. You are mourning. You're dealing with your demons. You're pulling the weeds out of your garden. Okay, moving on to another Jesus. I'll stop doing those comparisons. I'm going to stay with the verses from the Sermon on the Mount right now because they're those short, really just one-liners. They're perfect. Matthew 5:5, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. The earth is an analog for your mind. It's your earth, your life, your experience, the way you live the world. That is what you wish to inherit. You don't get planet Earth. You get your experience, and that's what you want to inherit. You got to be meek. What does that mean? You got to be easy on yourself. There you go. Meek. Internal. What do you like? Inwardly, not outwardly. Can you sit there quietly while inside you're frazzled and fried and thoughts are nonstop, emotions bouncing off the wall? That's not being meek, and you're not inheriting your world. You are experiencing something that you are not in control of. And yet it is nevertheless emerging from you, but it is in a very confused state consciously. We don't start out having a handle on how to manage that stuff. But think about it. They emerge as your life experience is unfolded. And different people with different life experiences end up with a different pile of stuff. It's your pile of stuff that has to be dealt with. It's your garden that needs to be weeded, your demons that need to be exorcised. But we only can see that within ourselves. Once you turn it inward, you bring it in alone. Honestly, and keep this in your mind. It's life experiences and thinking processes that made you the way you are, and it's thinking processes that unmake it. That's what it is. However, it's coupled with incredible emotions which interfere. And before I forget, I want to mention a little bit ago, I said that you have to step back on those stories to see the patterns. You do. But then when you find what you're looking to do, you realize there's a cycle or there's something, or in this case, there's something you have to focus in on. Suddenly it goes from step way back to you zero in right to the memory, the experience, the way you feel about it. Step back to see it, but move in to engage with it. And you can engage with these too. I forgot to mention that earlier, that all of these steps as we go through them, if it's something that you look at and go, well, that sounds pretty, I don't know what to do with it. There's still something there you haven't figured out. You have to be able to engage with these. They are instructions. They are a set of to do. Or sometimes they aren't do this, but they're like, this is what's going to happen, or this is the experience you're going to have. There will be things being told that let you know you're on course. But everything, when you are on your path, this teaching is about that path. And then when it's nested, all the other stuff grows off of it. Okay, let's move on to the next verse. I do this, don't I? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Hunger and thirst are the analogs here. You're looking for righteousness. Let's not define that. For they will be filled. You're looking to get something. Hunger and thirst, you'll be filled. Hunger and thirst are analogs for consumption in the spiritual world. If you are desiring, if you're hungry, you want knowledge. I need to know. You're going to get those answers. You just have to be able to hear them. I'm going to jump to another area and bring in a little bit more density. No one sews a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old cloak, for the patch pulls away from the cloak and a worse tear is made. There's a few more lines in here, but there's not very many parts. Okay, this story is nested about us and about those three component parts, conscious, subconscious, or the unified field. Remember that? What we have, these are parts of us then. We are the old cloak to start with. No one sews an unshrunk cloth on an old cloak. I'll take it to the end. I already know the answer to the test. So if we are living our life and we are looking to make some changes, for some reason we get to a point where we think, oh my gosh, I've had it. I'm at wit's end. I'm going to do something different. We're going on the hero's journey, or we're going for self-healing. We're going to look for enlightenment. We're going to, all of those terms that are going to be really meant to get us to the same place. We are that old cloak, and we want a new life. We want to put new things into us. The unshrunk new piece of cloth is an analog for the new piece of life that we want, while we still have our old baggage with us. We're still our old selves saying, I've had it. I'm done. I'm going to go do something different. But you keep falling back into your old ways. You have to have a rebirth. Rebirth isn't here, but that's the implication. For the patch pulls away from the cloak and a worse tear is made. So yeah, it gets worse for you if you're trying to move ahead to a new life without resolving everything that you have in your past life. And the worst tear is made. All I can say there is maybe it makes life worse for you. Maybe it doesn't. But the point is that they're saying here is that you can't just put a new piece of cloth on an old coat. Okay. Let's go to the next section there. Neither is new wine put into old wineskins. Otherwise, the skins burst, and the wine is spilled, and the skins are destroyed. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, and so both are preserved. So what we have here is the new wine is what? That's what makes you feel a certain way. Wine is something that makes you feel a certain way. If you want to put new wine, a new way to feel into your old wineskins, you're the wineskin. If you do that, it's going to burst. It won't work. You can't say, I'm going to go start this new life while I got a bunch of stuff that's haunting me. It's going to come with you. You think you're leaving it behind, but you're bringing it with you up here. Otherwise, the skins burst and the wine is spilled and the skins are destroyed. Yeah, it won't work. You can't put a new self into an old self without first rectifying the old self. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, and so both are preserved. Yeah, there we have it. If you turn it inward, that's where it turns. That's how it breaks down. Okay, you blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup so that the outside also may become clean. Okay, well, where does this go? We're the Pharisee, okay? You take on the role of the Pharisee. Who's the Pharisee? The Pharisee's the one that doesn't understand this inner teaching. That's the Pharisee. Might be called hypocrite or something like that as well. These terms are something we need to back away from a little bit and realize, oh, we all fit. This is not identifying a person at that time, although it does. But it's an analog in that time to represent something inside of us. And that's the part of us that, like the Pharisee, doesn't get it. Doesn't understand layer 3. First clean the inside of the cup so that the outside also may become clean. We are the cup. If we want the outside clean, if we want our life to be a certain way, we have to clean the inside. This I'm gonna push this verse a little bit further. When we clean out what is inside, we tend to think, well, everything I've done is good. The stuff that I have in there that isn't good, that wasn't my fault. That somebody else did that. I'm a victim. I don't have to clean that stuff up. That's the stuff I have to carry because somebody gave it to me. That's the stuff we're stuck with. That's the stuff we have to clean the inside of the cup, because with that in place, it continues to surface and it continues to show up on the outside of the cup as well. As within, so without. We got to clean the inside of the cup. And once we are no longer the Pharisee and we understand that, there we go. This is in a bigger body of teaching. There are layers to this. Right now, we're just basically working on navigation techniques, the basic navigation. Okay, I'm going to jump to another one here. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household. Well, that sounds rough. Yeah, we have to interpret these things. I don't know what those literalists do in cases like this. I don't know. Okay. The analogs are many. The conscious mind and the subconscious mind is what we have to work with. They knew that they had a conscious, a thinking mind, and then that whatever else was there, they didn't know it was a subconscious mind, but they knew something was there holding and doing something in the background. And we know that as our subconscious. They gave it names as they're encoding things, as they're trying to teach you need to forgive who hurt you, but that's not being passed along. They're doing other things like saying, let's call this the Father because it's in charge, and the that other part, whatever it is, that's the Son. The Father teaches the Son. The conscious decides, that's good or bad, and puts it in there. Then that's what makes the Son act out. Okay, and even though that is some of the mechanics of what is going on in this verse, it's a little bit different. What we have happening instead is, if you look at it, you see man against his father. So here is somebody who is the father is the upper echelon, right? A daughter against her mother, mother upper echelon, daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Every offspring is going to take over from the origin, the point of origin. And then as we move along, and one's foes will be members of one's own household. These are component parts of who and what we are inside. There's another correlation. I won't post the verse up for it, but there's other analogs for this. You could have this as the husband and the wife, and the two conduct business together, whatever gets stored away that is good or bad, those are called offspring. They can be sick offspring or healthy offspring. Cain and Abel, good and bad. The bad wins out over the good. So the members of the household, this is the household right here. Then there's one more part that I skipped and I held it till the end. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. Well, you got to be careful with this. This is a perfect Christian verse. You could take that at face value. You could interpret that. And you could use it to justify killing people in the name of God, regardless of the other teachings. These are tough. They're tough to look at and understand what they're meant for. Christ, when you're on this path, anytime you're on the hero's journey, you become that person. You become the hero. In this case, we become the Christ consciousness. You are stepping outside of yourself, looking at your conscious, your subconscious, your life from outside of yourself and starting to manage and make corrections. There's a consciousness and awareness that is there. That is what Christ is. That is what has come to bring a sword. That is the part that says, man, all that shame, all that pain, all that hurt, all that stuff inside, I'm going to go get it out. I got to be tough on it. And you do have to be tough on it. When you bring it inside, the enemies are within you. Read them that way. You clean out your household. Let me move on to this one. Mark 11:12. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see whether perhaps he would find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. He said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. Okay, the stories like this are going to be teaching the same lessons, but they're taking on different qualities. It's going to start emerging into a different style of teaching. But let's take a look at it. The first thing we see here is Jesus was hungry. Yeah, this is talking about him he was returning from someplace on his journey and he was hungry. So we know that spiritually as we turn in what he wanted to learn something. He needed something, or whatever the case may be, looking for answers. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see whether perhaps he would find anything on it, and there was nothing on it. It wasn't the season for figs. I can't be literal. I even remember as a kid hearing that story and thinking, wait a minute, didn't he have magical powers? Couldn't he have just made ice cream? Figs? Why did he kill the tree? He was Jesus. Yeah, okay. So the tree grows from our garden. The garden is in our mind. The tree that doesn't produce is something that we're carrying that doesn't do us any good. It's extra baggage. It's extra weight. It's extra something. It's enabling somebody. It's not helping our life. It's something we need to let go of. Not everything is painful. Some stuff is just a waste. In this case, he was hungry. He found something growing in his garden that didn't produce anything viable. And so he just said, yeah, you got to go. Time to die. And what happened? The disciples heard it. Here's another layer. The disciples exist inside of us, and I'm not going to cover them extensively. The disciples are 12 human qualities, characteristics that the human has, including Thomas, that one that says, no, this won't work. I can't do it. One more day, one more drink. I'll quit tomorrow. I'll do. Yeah, that is all of us. His disciples heard it, which meant that within his house, there was no conflict. He killed it, and Thomas wasn't going to come back the next day and go, yeah, let's go back to the bar one more time. We'll quit tomorrow or whatever. Something. What fits in you? It was important enough for them to write about it. It was important enough for them to teach it. Okay, so one more here. And I just covered this one recently, but it fits right with what I'm doing here. And it works perfect. So when you are offering your gift at the altar, if you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother or sister, and then come offer your gift. Okay, very briefly, what we have going on, if you're offering your gift at the altar, you are trying to invoke good graces. You want a better life. If, however, you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, and this could be angry at people in the world, that's not the issue. The issue is the anger that you hold up here. The brothers or the sisters are the offspring of the issues that you have inside. As long as we are carrying a lot of baggage with us and we want good graces, what we don't understand is that we're not getting the good graces because of the baggage that we carry inside. First, reconcile that stuff. If you have a messed up, confused energy source up here, it's not your fault. Nobody's fault. But once you learn, it's like, oh my God, can I align it? Can I get a hold of it? That's what we're trying to do. We want to align that in such a way that we then flow better in the graces of God or the Tao or the goodness in life. I do believe, however, if I was a Christian, I would very much take to heart this idea that your Father rewards you in secret because he sees in secret. That this is not what you see on planet Earth. This is what you hold inside of you. When you're off by yourself and nobody's looking, no one's around, it's just you. Up here is what makes you operate. Up here is how you flow through life, what you hold up here. When we're taught to clear out our third eye, that's it. That's that massive stuff. When Jesus says, or, when it's talked about as far as you can't help your brother see unless you can see yourself. You can't help somebody else figure things out unless you've got this figured out as well. The DVD, The Secret, that tells you, just forget about that stuff. It'll go away if you don't think about it. Every master from antiquity, that's the only thing they're focusing on. Get rid of this stuff and life works. How is all of that visualization working out while you're trying to gather something through a massive blockages that you carry, that they said, forget about that stuff. You can't forget about it. That is the most important thing. If it's something that is benign and you can go, oh yeah, I need to let that go. That's stupid. Sure. But really hard things that you can think of and you think of it later. You're not even involved in the situation anymore. But just to recall it evokes emotions that are like angry or hurt, shame, something that is not good. You're carrying that. That is inside of us when we do that. It's like, oh my gosh. And as it's sitting there and it's not surfaced, it's not benign. That's your subconscious operating in the background. That's the stuff that's in your third eye. But it's not a third eye. That's an analog too. Ultimately what it is, you got a conscious, you got a subconscious, you start out fresh. Everything is good to go. You are not programmed for anything. But as we grow, we become programmed and we can become all kinds of different things. It depends on the programming and how we process that programming. And as we do that, that is what becomes the blockage between our flow from the universe to our life experience. That is the impediment. That is what prevents us from seeing clearly, from functioning clearly. That's the only thing that happens in life. Think about it. Where do you come from? There's a part of us that is biological, but where does, as an individual, as a conscious entity, we come from our experiences and the way that we perceive those experiences, among other things. We have desires, we have things like that too, but basically the package that we are is based on where we came from. We could have been raised around the world, we would have been something different. You start out empty, you get programmed. We need to know that and then escape from it. They knew this. At layer 3, that is what is here. It is, this is the deepest psychology. This is the Upaguru. This is using your life experiences to correct your life. That's what they were teaching at the nested level. The outer level was something different. Look at it. Think of why. Sometimes, as exciting as this stuff seems to me, it also has results that make me go, well, that's it? Yeah, for sure. I look for answers, but I don't make stuff up. Anyway, Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will continue on in this vein. Please feel free to add some comments, questions below, or if you have requests about something you'd like me to maybe address specifically, maybe a Jesus story or something like that that sounds weird to you that you want to hear that I haven't gotten to yet because I'm still really doing it at a very very introductory kind of a level as best I can. I don't know. It's a lot. I don't know how to say it. It's a lot. I don't know how to teach it either. I don't. I'm working on it. Love one another, and I'll see you in the next video.